everybody, how are you doing? Welcome back to Tavian's World of Reptiles. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can see future videos that I have to make. And if you're returning to my channel, thank you again for watching yet another one of my videos. Don't you forget to hit that like button so that you just show your love and let me know that you appreciate the video. So you've decided that you're going to get your very first snake. Now that you've made that decision, you need to decide what you're going to put your snake in. And that means what size enclosure you're going to need for your snake. So in this video, that's what we're going to be talking about today. First thing you want to think about when it comes to what size enclosure you'll need for your snake is think about what size your snake is going to be, because that's kind of important when deciding what size enclosure you're going to get. Typical rule of thumb when it comes to choosing your enclosure size is that the dimensions of the enclosure should be equal to or greater than the length of the snake. So for instance, if you went and got a 6-foot snake, which you probably wouldn't if it's your very first snake, but let's just go ahead with it. If you got yourself a 6-foot snake, the minimal size enclosure that you would want is a 6x2 enclosure. This allows your snakes completely stretch out all the way along the back and side of the enclosure with no problems. Now, of course, there's always the well-known thing amongst the community that the more space, the better. So it never hurts to go ahead and give them something just a little bit bigger than that, even if that was the perfect size for that snake in its size. However, some people might argue that bigger is not always better when it comes to something like a baby snake. People say that if you have a snake that is small, you want to go with the smallest amount of space possible for a small snake because it can stress them out. Others say that if you put enough decoration, if you put enough hides, if you do the enclosure well enough, that you could give a baby snake, like this little guy here, a very large enclosure, something to really grow into, even its adult size enclosure. I probably would not give this snake its adult-sized enclosure because he's very tiny and I think I would lose it really easily inside the enclosure. And when I wanted to spend time with that snake, I would have to spend a lot more time looking for it in a very large enclosure. So that's something you might want to think about if you're thinking about doing bigger is better for something that's this small. Another thing you might want to consider is whether your snake is an arboreal species, a semi-arboreal species, or if it's more of a terrestrial species. If you have more of an arboreal species, you might want to think about an enclosure that is more vertical than it is horizontal, as they are going to require more up space than they are going to need space to go horizontally. So that's a thing you might want to consider, and in that case the dimensions might differ a little bit because like I said, they're going to require more space to just kind of be up and perched, and rather the space to really stretch out and absorb and go hunt and do all of that. So that's a thing you might want to consider. If you have a terrestrial species that spends more time on the ground, then you may not need an enclosure that has a lot of height to it. Something that's pretty shallow, maybe 18 inches, maybe even less if it's really a terrestrial species, or even something like my sunbeam snake. I don't have an enclosure. I keep in a tub because she just spends 99% of her time in the dirt, like underground, and I never see her, and so there's really no point in doing a whole big nice setup for her when she's just underground. So I just provide her with enough depth of dirt to do her thing underground, but for the most part she doesn't really have an enclosure that's super high and super just very spacious in that sense. Now, something like my boas that are that are semi-arboreal, they spend a lot of time on the ground, but they also enjoy the ability to climb. I do provide them with enclosure that has enough length as well as enough height to it, usually a good 2 feet, to allow them to have plenty of space to really just get up there and do their thing like they would in the wild. So yes, something else to consider when you're thinking about your enclosure size. So yes, I really hope that was a good enough video for you. If I think about more, I will definitely do a part 2 to the video. If you know some things that I absolutely missed that you think people should know right away, go ahead and put that in the comments. I think people would really appreciate all the information that you can give them. That's all my videos are about. They're just about giving out as much information as I possibly can. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just a hobbyist. And so yeah, I just want to help anybody else who's thinking about getting into hobby be prepared for their new little babies to come home. Usually you want to go ahead and be prepared before you get your reptiles home So, but I know sometimes people go to reptile expos, knowing that they're going to go to get a snake, but not quite sure what size that snake is going to be. But so it's kind of hard to go ahead and set up something like that if you don't have an idea of what size of a snake you're going to get exactly. But if you have a general idea, you can set up something pretty nice and pretty decent for them to come home to. And so, yeah, I hope this was a good video for you guys. If you have anything to comment, put it in the comments below. And yes, happy Sunday to you all. My words are failing. This here is little Lestat, who's been hanging out with us today. This is my bull snake or gopher snake, whatever it is that you want to identify it as. I've heard mixed things about it, like I said, but not going to go into that. Anyway, TWR, I am checking out. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday day. Love yourselves, love your reptiles, and you guys keep spreading those herbs.